Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, we are talking about when the crazy states get even crazier, which of course means we are talking about, that's right, California. Yeah, I was shocked when I started finding some of this research material that there was actually anything left to control in California, because if ever there is a state who has absolutely boxed in lawful and responsible gun owners with more crazy and oftentimes unconstitutional legislation, well, it's the state of California, but never to be outdone, because California always wants to lead the charge when it comes to crazy civilian disarmament legislation. It appears that there are 4 pieces of legislation kicking around in Sacremento this year that may actually make matters even worse for those unfortunate enough to live there. So today, let's slow it all down. Let's talk about all the bills, and let's talk about when the crazy states get crazier. Okay, before we get going too far down the road, as you guys know the drill, anytime we're doing a video about California, we always give a shout out to our first ever California subscriber. Of course, that is Philip P. Philip P has been spreading the gospel of Washington gun law ever since we became a channel. Philip, this video is for you. Now, I mentioned before on a few occasions, Philip P has been kind enough to actually give us ideas for videos. And listen, if you have an idea for a video, you need to go ahead and click on that link right there and let us know, because some of the best videos we ever did weren't our ideas to begin with. What we are talking about today is 4 pieces of complete insane legislation, of course, coming from the state of California, any one of which was likely unconstitutional, all of which is likely to pass out of both the House and the Senate. And as we know, your governor, well, he's never found a piece of gun control legislation that he didn't absolutely adore. Okay, let's first talk about Assembly Bill 2917. This is an expansion of California's red flag laws. Did not know a state could have any more expansion in their red flag laws than what California currently has. If California's red flag law was part of our solar system, it would be Jupiter. Now, this piece of legislation, if enacted into law, would allow threats to groups. So you don't make a threat to an individual, you make a threat to a group. I don't know how broad of a group it might be, but maybe I hate all Democrats or something to that effect. Yeah, that can be now grounds, or would become grounds, for a red flag order in the state of California. And if a red flag order is granted in the state of California under this piece of legislation, yes, you will be disarmed for a period of 5 years. And the state would be able to seek renewal of those orders, not based on any new allegations, but based on the 5, 10, or 15-year-old allegations. All right, perhaps one of the most troubling pieces of legislation is Senate Bill 53. This is California's safe storage provision. Now, when they talk about safe storage laws, it can mean a lot of different things. To the extreme, in Washington state, we don't actually mandate how people store firearms, but we do create criminal liability if you're an idiot about the way you store them and bad things happen. On the opposite end of the spectrum, however, will be Senate Bill 53, because if this was enacted into law, a California resident will not be allowed to possess a firearm inside their home unless it is kept under lock and key. Okay, let me say that again. You will not be able to dictate how you store your own firearms in the state of California. It will be unlawful to possess a firearm inside your home that is not stored in a locked box, thus, of course, making it quite useless in the event of a home invasion. Oh, and the locked box, of course, will have to be approved by the state of California. Otherwise, no guns for you. Now, I know many of you are sitting there going, wait a second. Didn't the United States Supreme Court already deal with that? Yeah, they did. The case is called District of Columbia v. Heller, but as we know, when it comes to the state of California, why would you ever let case law or the Constitution get in the way of your civilian disarmament measures? Okay, Senate Bill 1038. This seems to be kind of the new hot button issue we're seeing pop up in a lot of states, including what was already passed here in Washington state under what we called House Bill 1903. This basically criminalizes individuals who've been victimized. What I mean by that is if you have a firearm that is lost or stolen under this legislation, if you do not report that to law enforcement within 48 hours, you subject yourself to criminal sanctions. In Washington state, the reporting period is 24 hours, okay? So, again, this bill says that if your firearm is lost or stolen, not like you have a property crime problem down there in California or anything like that, and you fail to report to law enforcement, well, then you can be criminalized for having been victimized. And then finally, Senate Bill 1253. We're going to do a little bit more research because this may be an absolutely insane piece of legislation similar to what we saw come out of Illinois. Now, in the state of California, if you actually want to go purchase a firearm, go exercise what is supposed to be an inalienable right, you need to have a firearm safety card. However, that firearm safety card is only good for the purchase of the firearm. Now, under Senate Bill 1253, if enacted into legislation, you will now also need a separate firearm safety card to possess the firearm. So let me get this straight. You're going to have to get a firearm safety card in order to purchase the firearm, which will require you to go through a background check. Then, of course, if you want to keep the gun, you have to get a separate firearm safety card, so you have to go through a background check. And then, of course, you're actually going to go buy the firearm, which, contrary to how some people believe, it will require you to go through yet another background check. So in order to own your first gun in the state of California, well, you're going to have to go through a background check to go through a background check to go through a background check. Now, all four of these pieces of legislation have come out of committee and will head to their respective floors for votes. If those votes are in the affirmative, they will then transfer over to the opposite chamber where they will start the process all over again. We will carefully watch all four of these bills. I can assure you, California, if any one of them makes them out of both the House and Senate, your governor is going to sign it. We'll go ahead and link up all of the bills down below so that you guys can geek out on it for yourself. If you got any other questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now. If you don't, that's okay. That information is down there in the description box. And then finally, let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching and stay safe.